Schiller reiterates that beauty arises from the union of the contradictory impulses, when form and reality are brought into equilibrium. But this seems to remain an unactualized idea. In actuality, the composing elements will take turns dominating one another. At one moment, reality predominates, and then in turn, form. All this means is that beauty in idea is eternal and indivisible equilibrium, but in practice, beauty is twofold and may be destroyed by one of its constitutive elements. If in perfect equilibrium, the beautiful ought to relax and tighten. There is a relaxing effect to keep the sensual and formal impulses properly within their limits, but also a tightening effect to retain their strength and vigor. Ideally, beauty ought to relax the impulses by tightening them, and the converse as well. Schiller is worried that this is not what goes on in actuality. In ideality, the beautiful melts us and energizes us. But how do these reciprocal melting and energizing effects that relax and strengthen the duality of man play out in real life, where the concept of beauty is twofold and often dominated by either the formal or sensual aspect? If the formal component dominates the beautiful, it will likely be an energizing beauty that does nothing to tame the wildness of the savage. His gentle humanity is suppressed and coarseness prevails. There can be tremendous imagination associated with energizing beauty, but often at the expense of our natural feeling. What if the sensual impulse dominates, creating a relaxing or phantasmagorical effect where everything is just so dreamy? Man becomes enervated, frivolous, lost in some sort of aesthetic haze. All his refinement has made him weak and undisciplined. An overdose of taste and the sensual requires the energizing aspect of art. Schiller thinks that he can now answer those earlier concerns people had about aesthetic culture. Those individuals likely had an imperfect concept of beauty in mind, the one with a twofold nature that in practice either energizes and creates rigidity or melts and creates apathy. Going forward, Schiller will examine how melting beauty affects the rigid and how energizing beauty affects the apathetic. His hope is to dissolve these opposing modes in the ideal or rational conception of beauty.